Welcome to the SportsCapping.com podcast with free handicapping advice, odds insights, picks, and predictions to help you beat the sportsbook. And now your hosts, Jack Jones and Brandon Lee.
You're tuned into the SportsCapping.com free pick podcast. I'm your host, Jack Jones. It's time for Week 10 NFL and Week 11 college football free pick winners. Last week, Brandon Lee and I came away with a 3-3 week. I went 1-2. I lost on Texas in college football. I won on the Saints in the NFL. And I lost my 6-point teaser on the Panthers and Cowboys. Brandon went 2-1. He lost on Purdue in college football, won on the Texans in the NFL, and also won his 10-point teaser on the Chiefs, Bears, and Packers. Brandon, welcome back to the podcast. And how about those two losses we suffered in college football, man?
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, you're going to have some games that just go like that. I really thought Purdue had the cover in the bag when they scored late in the third quarter to go up by 12. But then I knew I was in trouble once they threw that interception on the first play of their possession after Iowa went on that long touchdown drive to pull within 5. Had a chance there late for a cover. They had 1st and goal on the 5. Maybe Iowa lets them score. But to get the ball back and give them a chance, but they end up kicking the field goal. And hopefully there's a few of you out there who got the -1.5 right before the game, or maybe even played the money lines. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Definitely that game, the day of the game was -1, -1.5 pretty much everywhere. And when you take a 2.5 point favorite, you don't really worry about it because you're happy to get it under a field goal. But in this case, it just worked out to where, we got screwed on that. And, I figured Iowa might let them score too. And, I guess they're just going to take their chance at letting them win it on a chip shot field goal. And that's what they did. And, Purdue controlled most of the game, which is the most disappointing part about yours. I had Texas and Texas -2. They were up 7 late. But gave up a 33-yard touchdown pass with only 16 seconds left. And then Dana Holgerson, he decides to go for 2 instead of going to overtime. So us with Texas -2 knew we were automatic losers with that decision. I do get the decision, and I like it for road teams like that, especially with a great offense. And it was a shootout. But I don't know how Texas allows a receiver to get behind them with only 16 seconds left from the 33-yard line. So that one was tough to swallow for me.
Oh, for sure. You don't know what teams are thinking in those situations. And, sometimes I think kids just hit the panic button and kind of forget, what their responsibility is, because you just need a leader on that defense to say, you guys, nothing deep. And unfortunately it happens, and it really sucks when you're on the wrong side of it.
For sure. I mean, that game was back and forth the whole way. I'm not saying I had the right side. It's just the way it came down.
Percentages, though. I mean, with that lead that late in the game, more times than not, you're looking pretty good.
Yeah, they were tied, and I knew Texas hit a bomb with just over 2 minutes left, and I was like, oh, yeah. I knew I was in trouble at that point because I was hoping they would just run the clock down and, kick a field goal to win it, and then we all win. And it didn't work out that way, and I was nervous about it. And West Virginia got there in the end, and it was a huge win for them for sure for their playoff hopes and Big 12 title hopes.
Right.
Anyways, it was 3-3. We haven't gone worse than 3-3 since week 1 college football. So we're still 127, 70-7 over our last 37 football podcasts. 64% winners, 41, 16-1 this season alone. It's been a great year, man, and we're ready to give the listeners 6 more free picks this weekend. And Brandon, start us off with your college football free pick for Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Tennessee Volunteers as a 6-point home underdog against number 11 ranked Kentucky. I think November is all about handicapping situations and trying to figure out when a team is going to be motivated to play and when they won't. One of the things I love to look for is teams who go from having a bunch of something really big to play for to literally, just having to play out their schedule. Kentucky falls directly into this situation. The Wildcats went from playing a game last week against Georgia where a win would have made them SEC East champs and kept alive, their slim hopes of maybe beating Alabama in the SEC title game and getting to the playoffs. Now all they have to play for is pride, as Georgia has locked up the division, and Alabama has too in the West. So, just really tough for a team to go from being potentially playing for a national championship to at least a conference title, especially for a team like Kentucky who doesn't, get to that spot very often. If, I can't even remember the last time or if they have. So really, really hard for them to come back and play with any kind of intensity, especially on the road. Sometimes teams can pick themselves up in a spot like this, but I just, more times than not, it doesn't happen. Luckily for us handicappers, the majority of the public doesn't, dig this deep into the psyche of a football team. All they see is a team that's ranked number 11 in the country and playing a Tennessee team that just beat Charlotte by 14-3 as a 21-point favorite. To them, they love backing ranked teams, and this line at less than a touchdown is going to seem very enticing to them. I do know this is an in-state rivalry. I think it's known as the battle for the beer barrel. But anyway, I just don't think Kentucky cares too much about this game. They had a losing streak against Tennessee, but they ended that last year. So the revenge aspect is actually on the Volunteers side. And I just think Tennessee is going to come out pretty excited and jacked up for this game. They need to win 2 of their final 3 games to become bowl eligible. I know getting to a bowl isn't up to, the standards of this Tennessee program. But after going 4-8 last year and this being the first season under Jeremy Pruitt, I think it would be a big step in the right direction for this program. They aren't going to care the least bit about, what happened to Kentucky last week. If anything, they're going to enjoy kicking their rival when they're down. And I'm not here to say Tennessee is a good team, but I do think people kind of overlook the schedule they've had to play. 4 of their 5 losses have come against West Virginia, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. The other was a mere 3-point defeat at South Carolina. They have went on the road and beat the likes of Auburn 30-24 as a 15.5-point dog. And another thing, or one last thing here, Kentucky's just not a team that seems to play well in the role of a favorite. They really thrive as an underdog. Wildcats are just 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 games as a favorite. They're also 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 off a double-digit loss at home, and 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 versus a team with a losing record. Give me the 6 points. I'll take the insurance here, but I really like Tennessee, to win this game outright.
Yeah, I think you nailed this one, man. I think it's certainly a bad spot for the Wildcats. They had their dreams of winning the SEC East crushed last week by Georgia. I don't think they're going to respond very well. And I think we might be getting some value with Tennessee off their poor performance against Charlotte. But, most SEC teams struggle when they step out of conference right in the middle of the conference season. And so I'm not going to look too much into that game. Was impressed with Tennessee's win at Auburn and their 3-point loss to South Carolina recently. I think they can hang with Kentucky. Definitely, Tennessee has a shot to make a bowl game. They just got to win 2 of their last 3 against Kentucky, Missouri, and Vanderbilt, so that's doable. So I like where they're at mentally a lot more than where Kentucky's at. I just don't think they're going to show up. I'm surprised this line's jumped from 3.5 on the opener up to 6. Like you said, public definitely likes backing those ranked teams. Might have something to do with it, but I think you're on the right side here.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that you're on that. You agree with this being, just a great spot here for play on Tennessee. It's not, that we think the Vols are the better team, and had they played 2 months ago, we'd take Tennessee at +6. This is all about the situation and just Kentucky not showing up. And, this is a Kentucky team. One thing I didn't say is they're a team that's, got to where they've got based on their defense. And so much of defense is effort and energy. And if that's not there and that defense doesn't show up with the way that offense struggles, Tennessee could maybe pull away here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tennessee's got a good chance to win outright. Kentucky's style for sure caters to close games too. So you're getting 6 here, and with their good defense and their lack of offense. So yeah, I like it. I'm with you here.
Right on, man. Who you taking?
I got another good spot for you this week. Definitely backing a team based on the spot. Fading a team that's off a huge game against Alabama. I'm going to take Arkansas plus 3.5 at home against LSU. Definitely like fading teams after playing Bama. Definitely the perfect spot to fade LSU. They had a chance to win the SEC West, but then lost 29-0 to Alabama last week. It was an even bigger blowout too than that 29-0 score showed. They were outgained by 380 yards by Alabama. Now they have to somehow try to get motivated to face a 2-7 Arkansas team this week. I don't think they will. It's an Arkansas team that comes in on 2 weeks rest also after having a bye last week. So the Razorbacks should be sitting on a big effort. First-year head coach Chad Morris definitely will not let them quit on their season despite that 2-7 record. I like the quotes I'm hearing out of him this week. And out of defensive coordinator John Chavis too. They're basically saying the priority is to win, rebuild second. So they're going to try to win this game. I think the Razorbacks have also been an undervalued team down the stretch. They've gone 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games. They beat Tulsa 23-0. Only lost by 4 to Ole Miss after blowing a double-digit lead late, and also lost by 7 at Texas A&M. They covered as 35-point dogs against Alabama, scored 31 points on Alabama, most points Alabama's given up this season. The Razorbacks get some key players back healthy this week too because they're off that bye. Arkansas 6-0 against the spread off a home conference loss over the last 3 years. Also 4-0 against the spread their last 4 games following a loss. LSU 0-4 against the spread last 4 games following a double-digit home loss. Arkansas 16-6 against the spread their last 22 home games against a team with a winning record. And the Razorbacks have gotten the money mostly in this series. They've gone 8-3 against the spread their last 11 meetings with LSU, including 4-1 against the spread the last 5 meetings in Fayetteville. Usually LSU is coming off the Alabama game before this Arkansas game too, so I think that's a big reason for the Razorbacks' success over the past decade in this series. I really like Arkansas plus 13.5.
Yeah, I can't give out Tennessee and not like Arkansas. It's basically the exact same scenario, just different side of the division in the SEC. I'm trying to think of what else I could add here. I do. The only reason I didn't take Arkansas instead of Tennessee is the fact that the Razorbacks have those 7 losses, so there's not that playing for a bowl aspect for them. With that said, I don't think a team ever wants to go winless inside conference play. So the fact that they are still looking for that first SEC win is enough here for me to probably play this one. And, given how this team has burned me on their win total, I might just have to sprinkle a little on their the money line here and get some of that money back.
Yeah, I think if you bet both these teams on the money line, you're going to at least cash one of them. I would be very confident in saying that. And you're right.
Get a little wild on a little 2-team parlay.
Oh, you parlay them together. Your payout will be astronomical. We should have done the calculation on that coming in, but I bet it's 30-1, something like that.
Risk a little to win a lot. Gotta love it.
Especially,
sure. And we're playing spots where there's a good possibility that both these teams do win outright.
Definitely. I mean, I don't recommend betting parlays, but if you actually the underdog parlays are good bets over time.
As long as you don't get wild on them.
Yeah, that's the best part about them is because best part about I like doing like a 4-team money line.
Keep it reasonable.
Do all the 3-team combinations and the 4-team, and you just go 3-0, and you still win quite a bit. But yeah, when you're getting up there at 13.5, I don't know, that's tough because those teams don't usually win. But definitely team underdogs of like 7 or less. I love doing those, and Tennessee would be a great candidate this week.
And we've brought this up multiple times on the podcast. I went against Louisville in this exact same spot a few years ago against Kentucky, and they were getting 20 something. I said they got a good chance to win, and they pulled off that upset. So, and I think they were at home too, and both these teams here are at home, which I think definitely greatly increases their chances.
Yeah, I remember that distinctly too, dude. That was awesome. Yeah. No, but you don't usually hear somebody say sprinkle a little on the money line when it's a 20-point dog, but it came through and it was sweet.
Yeah, I like them both here. So, quote me again. Let's go Razorbacks and Vols.
I love it. All right, let's give them a couple more NFL winners just like we did last week. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars +3 at the Indianapolis Colts. I think this is the ideal spot to jump on the Jaguars, who I think are going to come off their bye and remind everyone just how talented a team they are. All you see right now in the media is how big a disappointment this team is. I've seen articles titled they're the biggest disappointment in the NFL this year. They just got a primetime home game. They're on Sunday Night Football next week removed. They got pulled in favor of another game and will now play the Steelers in the early kickoff instead of at night. Another, kick in the junk for this team. And there's just something about this team that I think they really thrive in the role of the underdog. And I really think they're going to come out of their bye with a chip on their shoulder. I get the frustration some might have with starting quarterback Blake Bortles, but I think no one needed that bye week more than him to kind of, reset things and get back on track. And it definitely is going to help that he's going up against a Colts defense that, hasn't exactly been the best of the stop units in the NFL this year. Indy comes in ranked 19th against the run, giving up over almost 110 yards a game, and 23rd against the pass, just over 275 yards per game. I'm sure a lot of you watched the 49ers-Raiders game on Thursday Night Football, where Oakland managed 3 points and 242 total yards, had to pull their quarterback because the offensive line couldn't protect him. That same Raiders defense a few days prior to that game put up 28 points by the end of the third quarter against the Colts. Indy's had a lot of guys hurt on that side of the ball. They might get a few guys back, but most of the damage has been done injury-wise for them. And then speaking of injuries, I think a big positive here for Jacksonville and Bortles is they're expected to get back running back Leonard Fournette. I think his absence has played as big a role as any to why they've struggled so far in 2018. He's only played in 2 games. They won both of those. Last time he played was a 31-12 win against the Jets in Week 4. He practiced fully today. So all signs point to him playing in this one, and I think that really is going to be able to allow Jacksonville to, open up the playbook here and use play action and get Bortles some good throws and get that confidence back for him. I'm a big Andrew Luck fan. He's not going to go down without a fight. I just think he's in for a long day against this Jaguars defense. When Jacksonville's clicking on the defensive side of the ball, they might just be the best defense in the NFL. And as bad as things have been going so far, they still come into this game ranked second in the league in total defense, giving up just 313.3 yards per game. They also own the league's number 1 ranked pass defense, allowing just over 206 yards per game. I know the Colts are running the ball a little better this year, ranking, I think, middle of the pack there. But I don't think it's any secret that for them to have success offensively, they need Andrew Luck throwing the ball down the field. And I just don't think they're going to be able to do that here. These two teams do have an identical 3-5 record. But, for the Colts, their 3 wins are against the Redskins, Bills, and Raiders. I guess you can call the win over Washington a good one, but because they lead a bad division. But I'm not really all that impressed with the Redskins this year. At least with Jacksonville, we saw them beat a really good Patriots team at home convincingly. And then we saw what they did a year ago when they were playing well. I think if that team that we saw early on against New England comes out here, which I think we're going to see, this thing is going to be a blowout and not even close. And with that said, even if we don't get that Jaguars team, I still think there's a big enough talent gap here that they win this game outright. So give me the Jags +3, and let's cash another winner here.
Yeah, I think this is certainly a buy low spot on the Jaguars. I mean, earlier in the season, there's no way they would have been 3-point road underdogs to the Colts. Probably would have been at least 3-point favorites. But the Colts have won 2 in a row, and the Jags have lost 4 in a row coming in. I think you nailed it on Fournette. I think that's one of the biggest reasons for the struggles of the offense. And pretty impressed by the fact that they're still number 2 in total defense. I didn't look that up, but I know they've been giving up points lately, so that one was hard to believe. But I still believe, obviously, this is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and certainly the best defense Andrew Luck's faced since probably Week 3 against Philadelphia. He's been feasting on some bad defenses lately. I would lean Jaguars +3 here if I had to play this game for sure, Brandon.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, the defensive numbers, that kind of caught me by surprise as well. But that just goes to speak how bad Bortles has been in, recent games, giving up a lot of turnovers. It could come back to bite me here, but I just think given the matchup and the bye week and Fournette's return, that things are going to, return to form here for Jacksonville. And I wouldn't be shocked just because the Fournette news came out that he just practiced fully today, that we don't see this line drop down to like 2.5 or even 1.5.
Yeah, I agree. And I just don't know if you're going to get many more opportunities to back the Jaguars as underdogs for sure. So I think you're on the right track this week on this one. I'm going to go with the Seahawks +10 at the Rams. Fading the Rams has paid off big time for myself and clients of late. I'm not going to stop now. The Seahawks are getting 10 points against the Rams. Definitely too many points in my opinion. The Rams are 1-5 against the spread. Their last 6 games overall. They've won just 1 game by more than 7 points during that stretch, and that was against the 49ers. Cashed the Saints against them last week, and I definitely question the Rams' motivation this week coming off such a big game, as it might be kind of a hangover effect here. Seahawks will be playing with revenge in mind after losing 33-31 to the Rams in Seattle in their first meeting. That was a heartbreaker because the Seahawks led by 7 in the fourth quarter, but I got outscored 9-0 in the final period to lose by 2. And at 4-4, the Seahawks feel like this is kind of a make or break game for them if they want any shot at making the playoffs. So I just love the mindset of this team coming in compared to that of the Rams. And this is a Rams defense that's been very vulnerable of late. They've allowed over 27 points per game in their last 6 games. Just really haven't been the same since losing Aqib Talib, and their pass defense has suffered. The Seahawks even found some success on the ground against them the last time they played, rushing for 190 yards. Pete Carroll's 9-1 against the spread in road games against excellent passing teams who average 7.5 or more yards per attempt. Lifetime as the coach of Seattle, so he definitely knows how to stop these passing teams or at least limit them. The Seahawks 12-4-2 against the spread their last 18 games following a loss. I really like the Seahawks +10 this week.
Yeah, I can certainly see why you would consider playing the Seahawks here as a double-digit dog, especially I know with all the success you've had going against them here recently. Me personally, I just don't know that I'm going to be able to get there as far as betting against the Rams this week. I did last week with New Orleans. I was on the Saints. I'm just not a big fan of going against in what I feel is an elite team off a loss. And it's not like the Rams can take their foot off the gas. Now they're tied with New Orleans for the number 1 seed in the NFC. They've got to keep winning and hope the Saints lose another one to get back that top spot. So, and I also think this line is a little bit fishy, I guess. I think it looks a little too good to be true with how well Seattle played them the first time around. I think the Seahawks are going to get some public money here, which, scares me with the book setting the number this high. I personally won't be laying the 10 with the Rams, but I got a gut feeling here that they cover the big number.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see where they would off a loss should refocus them for sure. Just the nature of that loss against an elite team. Anytime there's a huge matchup like that the previous week, I don't hate fading both teams the next week, honestly.
Right.
But yeah, I think the Rams were -7 in Seattle, so -10 at home makes some sense. I mean, if you look at it that way, it could. If they were -7 in Seattle, they should be close to -13 at home. But I watched that Packers game a few weeks ago, and it was like a home game for the Packers. It was unbelievable. So I just don't think the Rams have that great of a home field advantage in Los Angeles right now. So I think that's also something. I didn't even factor that in when I took the Packers, but I was just shocked by how the crowd just seemed like it was for the Packers.
Green Bay and Seattle or Pittsburgh are probably two teams that you can go they can go anywhere on the road, and you're going to find some of their jerseys in the stands. So
no doubt about
that.
But
I'm also not saying the Rams have a good home field. There's so much to do in LA that I don't think you have the passion that you have in other NFL cities.
Yep.
So
fans just aren't as diehard and into the game.
And, the reason we're probably, when you got a team like the Rams that can score like they can, 10 points isn't what it is to some, other teams in the NFL, like probably the other 20, there's probably 28 teams that, can't put up numbers like this. Seattle, or not Seattle, but Kansas City, LA, Saints, and Patriots are probably, the four that come to mind for me.
Yep.
So, and just like, I kind of mentioned with the Chiefs playing at home, Chiefs definitely have a bigger home field edge. So that's just what scares me. And like I said, I'm not going to be playing the Rams at -10. It's just not a wise investment long term. So I'll definitely root you in here. And, maybe Russell Wilson will score one late for the cover.
That back door has definitely been open against the Rams a few times.
For sure,
too.
Yeah.
All right, let's give the listeners a couple of bonus NFL teaser winners for Week 10. You go first, Brandon.
All right, I'm going to do a 2-team 6-pointer. I'm going to take the Patriots from a 6.5-point road favorite down to basically a pick 'em against the Titans. And I'm going to tease that with the Eagles at home against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Going to take Philadelphia from -7 down to -1. In a game I have a good feeling they're going to win and win pretty easily.
Yeah, I think the Eagles should beat the Cowboys at home off their bye, and the Patriots should handle the Titans. So I got no problem with this one. Love teasing down those key numbers to where they just got to win the game. I'm going to go with a 10-point teaser this week. I'm going to use the Chargers as a pick'em at the Raiders. I'm going to use the Packers as a pick'em at home against the Dolphins. And I'm going to use the Bucks +7 at home against the Redskins. You just got the Chargers just have to beat the Raiders. Packers just have to beat the Dolphins. And the Bucks get the Redskins, who are just decimated by injuries right now, getting 7 at home with the teaser line. So I like that one.
Yeah, tough to argue with that. I definitely don't know how you can expect the Raiders to win again. It almost looks like they are, full on tanking. You don't really trade away your best players and then, try and win games. You obviously want the draft pick. So I expect Oakland to keep losing. I don't see Rodgers losing at home, and a must win for Green Bay. And, with the way Washington's banged up, I like Tampa to keep that within a touchdown for sure.
Sweet, man. Yeah, the Raiders may show up one more week throughout the season. I just don't know what week it's going to be.
It'll probably be against the Chiefs.
Yeah, just because
even them showing up against Kansas City doesn't mean they're going to win. So they might play hard, but what they put on display Thursday against the 49ers was atrocious.
Oh, I was embarrassed, man. I had the over in that game. I'm like, you get 34 points from the 49ers. Can't cash an over ticket because of freaking Raiders. can't score more than 3 points. They can't block. They can't block.
That was. I had the over as well in that game, so it was
really?
It was brutal.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Man, they just it's just like they quit. Like didn't he? They just kept running. They're down and they just keep running the ball. I just didn't. I was so furious over it, but. You'll have that. I just can't trust them after watching that.
Yeah, that'll be the last time I count on them for any scoring in a total, and I definitely won't be taking them on any spreads. Not a big fan of backing bad teams.
For sure. Let the listeners know how you've been doing lately, maybe long term also, and how they can find you at SportsCapping.
For sure. Coming off a 3-0 Sunday sweep in Week 9. Now going into Week 10 of the NFL, having hit 33 of my last 44. That's 75%. Currently the number 2 ranked NFL handicapper for 2018 in terms of profit one, which is just under $20,000 for $1,000 players. I'm the number 1 overall in winning percentage at 71% for the season, and ROI, return on investment, for those who don't know, at just under 36% for all cappers with at least a minimum of 10 picks. So still doing really well in college football, and really excited for the start of college basketball. I've used a very selective approach over the last 4 years to go 102 and 54, 65% on all college basketball picks in the months of November and December. This is basically non-conference time where, I just try to find key matchups with some favorable lines. And I've used this early success to 2 top 10 finishes on the college hardwood in the last 3 years. And hopefully we can make it 3 out of 4 this year.
Awesome.
I just might as well plug in where you can find me as well. And that's at www.sportscapping.com/Brandon-Lee.html.
Awesome, man. Definitely, just keep those NFL winners coming. It's awesome. I actually had my worst week since the football season started last week between all sports. And I'm ready to bounce back. I have the first 2 days of this week, and still 81 and 59 between college and NFL, 58% winners on the season. But I do want to focus on basketball since college hoops did just start. Check the long-term results at SportsCapping. You'll find me ranked number 1 basketball all-time, pro and college, 4-time top 10 NBA capper, 4-time top 10 college basketball capper. Since 2012, $1,000 per game bettors, up over $170,000 on the hardwood. You can get my NBA and college basketball season pass combo for $900. Went through the NBA finals with that. You can find me at sportscapping.com or betfirm.com. Hit me up on Twitter at betfirmsjack. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave a review if you like the show. That's going to be it for this week's episode. Make sure to come back next week for our Week 11 NFL and Week 12 college football free picks.
Thanks for listening to the SportsCapping.com podcast. For more free picks and predictions, be sure to visit us at SportsCapping.com.